Hi, this is Daniela Wolf with Bestie Life, the podcast, and this is your community to support you through the little and not so little events that make up your day-to-day life. From the I've got this moments to the I just can't moments. We are here to empower all women to find and develop the skills they need to find peace, balance, and the bliss in their busy. Through solo episodes as well as interviews with amazing women who share their journey and their story and how it works for you. I hope you find the inspirations to make you laugh, think, as well as maybe rethink what you thought you knew, and connect as we realize that we are all living similar ups and downs and don't have to do it alone. So excited for you to hear this episode, and thanks so much for joining me today. Hi, this is Daniela with Bestie Life, the podcast. And today I am so excited for you to meet and to have this conversation with Jennica Day-Cabrera. She is the owner of The Vacation Nerd, and she is a vacation expert. So you're going to want to get your notebook out and take notes on some great ways to de-stress. She has a background in I'm going to mess this up, kinesiology.
Kinesiology.
Okay. She has a background in kinesiology and psychology with her MBA, and as well as experience living in Cancun, has really carved out just such an amazing niche with her experience in vacation. And so she spent the last 8 years kind of conceptualizing and researching and writing a book on the science of vacation, and wants to just teach everybody how to vacation optimally so you can help prevent burnout and improve your overall health and wellness. So thank you so much, Jennica, for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So if you can share kind of a little bit about your journey here, I am so excited because I think we underestimate the importance and power of that really disconnected rest and relaxation. So how did you become a vacation expert?
Yeah, so vacation expert is kind of just a term that I invented myself to kind of recognize all this information that I kind of stumbled upon. Mm-hmm. So I had kind of, I can go through a little bit of a history here of how I kind of came into this role, but I had kind of 3 realizations in my life. And the first one, I was a varsity wrestler. So I was on the wrestling team at my university. And we had a really intense training schedule. So we trained in the mornings, we trained in the afternoons, and then on the weekends, we would often go to tournaments in different destinations. And we were just constantly training. And, you know, I was supposed to be in really amazing shape, but I always felt really exhausted and my muscles were always sore. I always felt like mentally, I just couldn't get to the point where I felt like I was performing properly. And so I realized later on that I was experiencing overtraining syndrome, which is just you train too much, you don't rest and recover your muscles, and your performance actually goes down. So that was kind of my first realization into how important it is to rest and recover in order to perform properly. And although it was through this athletic lens, it kind of like came to fruition later on in my occupational life. So after I had this experience training as a varsity athlete, I ended up moving to Cancun, and I was there for 3 years. I taught chemistry and biology in a high school there, an international high school. And before I left and I went there, I really thought like I had found the formula for a great life. Like to work in a vacation destination, I'm going to constantly feel like I'm on vacation. I'm going to have this amazing life. It's going to be full of beaches and sunsets and rest and all those things. And what I realized when I was there is that even though I was in this great destination, I was overworking myself. So I as a new teacher, you know, you have to put in extra long hours to kind of get those lesson plans worked out. You have to be working on the weekends sometimes just to make sure that you have everything ready for the week. And then I also had a goal to become fluent in Spanish. So I had a Spanish tutor. I was taking salsa classes. And then on the weekends, I was often going away and traveling and ticking things off my bucket list. So I was doing all these things and I was stressed out and I ended up burning myself out. And I thought, you know, like, how is this like vacation destination dream like crumbling? You know, it didn't work out.
How do you get burnt out in
Cancun?
Right?
How do you burn out in Cancun? Like, it doesn't make it makes no logical sense, right? So I kind of had that realization of like, you know, a vacation isn't a destination. It's more than that. And I kind of ended up looking into that a bit later on. But after Cancun, I ended up moving back to Canada, back to Vancouver, and I did a master's of business, and I ended up going into a more formal, knowledge worker role, 9 to 5 job in e-commerce. And when I moved back, I went from having 10 weeks of vacation as a teacher to having 2 weeks of vacation in this new business world. And I thought, okay, I was burned out in Cancun with 10 weeks of vacation. How am I going to do it with 2 weeks of vacation and not burn myself out? It didn't make any sense to me. And so at that point, I kind of was looking at like, okay, well, how am I going to do this? And I kind of started researching occupational recovery and like how I could, maximize my time off. And I started kind of experimenting with different vacation timeframes and frequencies and all that. And I ended up going down kind of a rabbit hole of all this like vacation research that I didn't know existed. And then years into this, I kind of had figured things out and I found all this new information, and I ended up kind of writing this book loosely and thought, okay, I guess I'm writing a book. Like I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was like, I guess I'm writing a book. So I ended up writing the book, and then it's going to be published really soon. But vacation expert is really just the term that I came up with to, kind of acknowledge that I have all this information that I want to share with people about how we can vacation optimally. So it's less about the fancy term of vacationing and palm trees and beaches and jetting off to like destinations. And it's more about looking at it from an occupational recovery perspective.
Yeah, because like you said, the fact that even being in a destination known for its amazing vacations, if your mindset, if the way you're kind of managing your day-to-day isn't in the right place, you'll never feel relaxed.
Yeah. And I was just doing a lot of things wrong, and I hate to use the word wrong, because I wouldn't say you can vacation wrong. Well, maybe you can vacation wrong. There's things that you can do to make it more optimal, right? And I wasn't doing those things. And I wasn't doing it the way that I should have been doing it to really recover enough to perform at my best. And that's really what I want to talk to people about.
Yeah. So what are some of the, I don't know, like, again, not to like put a judgment word on it, so I don't want to call it a mistake, but what are some of the things that people are doing that are maybe kind of self-sabotaging their ability to really recharge when they go someplace or when they are, quote, on vacation, even if they're at home?
Yeah. So there's 4 myths that I believe most people believe about vacationing. Number 1 is that you have to travel to vacation. So I think we've been convinced that a vacation and travel are the same thing. And I, from the definition that I'm trying to reshape or reformulate for people, you don't have to travel to vacation. So a vacation where you sit at home or go out for a walk and read a book in a park, or go to a spa at a place really close to your home. It could be any number of those things. That can be just as beneficial as a vacation where you hop on a plane and go to Cancun, for example. And in fact, traveling is stressful, right?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Most people will agree, especially coming off of a Christmas vacation, right? Anyone that I poll and I say, was Christmas a vacation or was it stressful? A lot of people will agree that it was somewhat more stressful than it was a vacation. And that's because, you might travel, there's a lot more things going on there that you wouldn't necessarily want to do if it was just a relaxing vacation. But anyways, I'm getting a bit off topic. Traveling and vacation are not the same thing. And traveling can be stressful. And when we're on vacation, we don't want to have a stressful time when we're on vacation. So that's one of like the major myths. So I wouldn't recommend people not to travel. If you really want to travel, that's fine. But I think it's opening up your mind to the idea that you can vacation at home as well, or close to home. You don't have to hop on. It doesn't have to be a big extravagant travel situation. It could be something closer to home.
All right. So that's one myth. What's another one?
Yeah. So another myth would be that you have to sacrifice vacations to be successful. So a lot of people, I think, in society right now, we think, there's this narrative of you have to work really hard and you have to sacrifice vacations and you have to put in the effort, and those who struggle and put in the effort, they're the ones who are going to be successful. And I don't think that's the case. And there's some research that shows that people who actually work more hours don't get promotions or raises as often as people who work fewer hours. So there's some information to show that. There's also another study that they did on business consultants, and they found that they had two groups of people, one that worked 80 hours a week and one that pretended to work 80 hours a week, but actually spent more time with their family or exercising or doing things like that. And they found that the bosses of those two groups didn't recognize which one was actually working 80 hours a week and which one was kind of pretending to work 80 hours a week. And the ones who pretended to work 80 hours a week, there's no information to show that they were actually less productive than the ones working 8 hours a week. So there's this narrative that we have to work really hard, and work really hard right now, I guess, in society means work more hours. And that's what we have to do to be more successful. But it's really not the case.
Yeah.
I personally think that a lot of successful people who are successful would be just as successful if they take vacations frequently than if they didn't. Right? I think they're driven enough to be successful. Taking a break will actually be beneficial for them. It won't hold them back. And it actually might make them more productive and more creative if they get little breaks during their working periods. So that's another myth, is that we have to forgo vacation days.
Yeah, definitely in North America, especially. I think in Europe, I have friends over there. They talk about, they're on holiday for a month. They're definitely using their vacation time. They're doing half day Fridays during the summer. They're not checking email outside of business hours. They're not returning calls. They're not doing those things, and have really good boundaries when it comes to maintaining that. And I agree 100% that taking time to rest actually, has been proven to increase your productivity and creativity and help you show up better than if you keep pushing and grinding through.
Yeah. And you're going to be, like you said, more productive. If a task takes you an hour to complete, but you're working so many hours, you're stressing yourself out, you might not be sleeping properly because you're working so much. Something that takes you an hour to do might actually take you an hour and a half to do, when you could do it in an hour if you're not rested, right? You might be working at like a lower percentage of your maximal output than if you just rested and came back, and then you could do it faster than if you're not resting, right? So
yeah, it's definitely, it's a mindset that people have gotten themselves into, despite all this evidence and all this research. So I want to go back to the first myth for a quick question, just to kind of play devil's advocate. So if someone said to you, I need to get away because if I stay home, I'm going to keep, quote, working. Because I think a lot of times we assume work is just our jobs, but it can also be doing things around the house. My husband's one of those people that he will tinker, he will find some project to work on if he is at home. How do you help kind of coach through that mindset of thinking like it's not just your job? How do you take a break from all the, quote, work you have to do?
I love that question because it's so true. And we have two types of work, right? So we have our formal work, like you were talking about, and then we have the work that we have at home, which I like to refer to it as life work. So, finances, mowing the lawn, some renovating your house,
the
taking care of
kids,
children, all those things, right?
My second job, I'd always say. That was my second job.
Yeah.
I'd leave one job to go to the other job.
Yeah. And that's work. Like, that's not a break. That's not a vacation to do all those things. So yeah, we have these two types of work, formal work and then life work. And really, when we vacation, we should be taking a break from both of those things. And so it is difficult. Like, if you're not traveling, it is difficult to have all those tasks. Sometimes when you travel, it's also difficult to have all those tasks. You might go to Hawaii and be at an Airbnb, but you still have to cook for your children. You still have to, getting from the airport to there. You might have to be thinking about finances. Like, there's still a lot of stuff going on even when you travel. But I agree with you. When you're home, it can be way more difficult to detach from those life work tasks. So a tip that I would have for that is try not to spend a lot of time at home, right? Okay. So even if you have a staycation per se, I like to call them home vacations, because I think that there's staycation is kind of a it's a glamorized term, but it's I don't think it fully captures the different types of vacations, because you can vacation at home where you actually sleep at home, but then you could vacation really close to home, like in your own city, but stay at a hotel. So I like to think of it as like a home vacation where you sleep at home, and a local vacation if you're in your own city, but you're staying somewhere else. Anyways, what I would recommend is getting out of your house. So like, as much as you can, try and be outside or go somewhere else. You could even, I don't know, swap houses with somebody else, or stay at your parents' place, or like get an Airbnb locally. I think anything that gets you out of the house, if you're really worried that you're not gonna be able to detach from all those life work tasks coming around, try and get out of the house as much as possible, or schedule things. Like one thing that me and my husband did recently, we did Disneyland for 4 days last year with our kids. And it's very difficult to have a relaxing
Oh gosh,
time
yeah.
in Disneyland, 'cause it's go, 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 right?
That's a marathon.
It's a marathon. But I knew that it was going to be like that. And so the day that we got back, the kids went back, our oldest son went back to, or actually the two oldest ones went back. We had a nanny. She took care of them for like 8 hours that day. And me and my husband went to like a local hotel spa so that we could have like a relaxing, that was our vacation. We had like 4 hours in there where it was just us relaxing, reading a book at the spa, getting a massage, all those things. And so it's about trying to get out of the house if that's going to be an issue for you. I think that's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, I love to act sometimes like a tourist in my own town because it's amazing. We always wait until people come to visit to go and show them things. I happen to live near Niagara Falls, and so the only time I go is when people come to visit. But we found sometimes like finding these little tours, these different parks, different places, new things going on TripAdvisor for your own town can really make it seem like you're on vacation somewhere else, even if you're only 40 minutes away.
Yeah. And I think one of the things about home vacations or local vacations is that people often don't get as excited about them as they would for a traveling vacation. And that's a shame, because you want to be excited leading up to your vacation so that every day you're kind of like, oh, I have that vacation coming up. I'm really excited for it. And so doing something like that, like you said, like looking for little activities that you can do in your own town, or like finding like interesting restaurants or coffee shops to go to that you haven't been to, that can really help you build this excitement around a home vacation. And the problem is that a lot of people, when they take a home vacation, they don't do that. They won't plan. They're like, okay, I'm just having a staycation. And then they don't make these exciting little plans. And so then they don't feel excited leading up to the vacation. And building that excitement up to your vacation is really beneficial.
Yeah, no, those are some great ideas, because I think that's the part we forget. You need to still buy the car snacks. You need to still buy that new outfit as if you were going someplace else.
Yeah. So
we had 2 more myths left. Myth number 3 would be what?
Okay, so myth number 3 is that you have to vacation for a long period of time. So research actually shows that a short vacation is just as beneficial as a long vacation. And this is looking at vacations from 17 days to as short as 2 days. So there's no added benefits to taking a long vacation over a short vacation in general. I mean, there's different studies say different things, but for the most part, they say there's not much added benefit. Not the only, but one benefit of taking a longer vacation is that you have more time on the vacation. So when we're on vacation, our health and wellness gets boosted. So like our happiness is increased when we're on vacation. So if you take a 5-day vacation versus a 10-day vacation, your happiness is going to be boosted for 5 days, versus if you're on vacation for 10 days, it's going to be boosted for 10 days. But the benefits that we get, it's not that our health is going to be boosted higher if we go for longer, or it's going to last longer if we go for a longer period of time. It's just that we get boosted for longer, for more days. But what the research actually shows is that more frequent vacations, people who take more frequent vacations are happier and healthier than people who take long vacations. So I think a lot of people generally will say, I have 3 weeks vacation. I want to take a 3-week vacation in Europe. And so you end up going an entire year without having any breaks from work. And the problem with that is that when we work, we experience stress, and stress accumulates. So the longer we go without a break from work, the more our stress levels build up and up and up and up. And then we have this maybe a 3-week vacation, and we say, okay, we're happy, our stress levels maybe go back down. But then we have another year before we can take a vacation. And so our stress accumulates. And instead of having these little like frequent vacations where we get blips of breaks and we can reset our stress levels keep going up. And that's what pushes us into chronic stress and burnout. So having these frequent breaks throughout the year, frequent short breaks throughout the year, is actually way better for us than taking one long vacation.
Right. And that follows the philosophy that I teach regarding self-care. It's not just, a couple hours at the spa, a weekend away, but it is that consistency throughout your day, every single day, that can recharge you every day. And so based on what you're saying, if you treat every weekend like a vacation, you're getting 2 days, you can still, Friday night get some stuff done, Sunday night get some stuff done, but those 2 solid days, Saturday and Sunday, you can get those same benefits as if you went away for a week, right? Am I hearing that correctly? That's awesome.
Yes.
I love that.
100%. And I love that you said treat the weekend like a vacation, because there's actually a study that shows that exact thing, that if you treat the weekend like a vacation, you get the benefits of vacation. So what they did is they had 2 groups of people, 2 groups of participants, and one group, they told them, it was, business professionals, it was leading up to a weekend, and they said, treat this weekend like a regular weekend, go have your weekend, come back to the lab next week, we're going to ask you some questions. And then another group of people, they said, treat this weekend like a vacation. So it's a regular weekend, but treat it like a vacation and come back to the lab, we're going to ask you some questions. So when the groups came back, they asked them some questions, and what they found is that the people who just had to, all it was a little mental shift. The people who treated their weekend like a vacation came back and were happier and healthier, and they performed better at their job. So it's a vacation really is a mentality switch, right? Like it's just treating your time off in a restful way. And like you said, it can be a weekend, like a weekend can be a vacation. What I do think is that if you take longer vacations, you can go a longer period in between your vacations, right? If you take shorter vacations, you should take them more frequently. So if you want to take, say you're a stay-at-home mom, or like you're an entrepreneur and you really have like a job that requires like a lot of dedication from you, and you can't even take like a 3-4 day weekend or 3-4 day vacation, take like an 8-hour vacation every week, and what I would recommend though is like really vacation, right? Like work hard, vacation hard. So if you're only taking an 8-hour vacation, like that vacation needs to be like really optimized. Like as soon as like the clock hits like 8 a.m. on a Saturday, and you're going from like 8 a.m. to like 4 p.m., like throw that phone out the window, like close your eyes, take a power nap, like go to that yoga class, go for a walk, like really vacation. But you can take these short vacations as long as you're doing them frequently and optimally.
Right. As you're talking, all I'm thinking is boundaries, boundaries, boundaries.
100%. Like it's all about, I believe one of the things that is most important right now is compartmentalizing. And like when you're working, you're working. When you're a mom, you're a mom. When you're resting, you're resting, right? And when I'm working, I like lock the door. Like kids, you cannot come in here. I have little kids, so they open the door, right? So it's like when I'm working, I'm not, taking care of my kids at the same time. And then when I'm with my kids, my phone's away and I'm not working, right? We really need to be like compartmentalizing these different areas of our life. And when we're resting, we're resting. We're not on our phone, or like there's a TV in the background, or like all these distractions. When things like cross boundaries, that's when we don't ever get like full work performance or full mom performance or full rest performance, because everything's just diluting the other area of our life. But if we can compartmentalize, we get the real benefits.
Right. I mean, so many studies have shown that multitasking is one of the least productive things that you could try and do. And even though you think you're getting more done, you're managing more things, you are doing them all less well and longer.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so what's that 4th myth then? What's the last thing people need to know when it comes to approaching vacations?
So the 4th myth is that we have to spend a lot of money when we vacation. So this kind of is intertwined with travel, right? Like when I say we should vacation frequently, people are like, I can't how am I going to take a vacation every 10 weeks? That's impossible because I don't have that much money. But the reality is like I said, you don't have to travel. You can have a $0 vacation in your backyard, right? You can wake up, you can do yoga in the park, using a YouTube video, you can go read a book, you can go for a walk, you can take a nice long nap. There are so many things that don't cost you any money that you can do on vacation. And again, if you want to travel, you can, but you can also take a $0 vacation if you want. Like
Right.
it's all about prioritizing rest and recovery over travel.
Right. And that fun too. Like I remember when my kids were little, they'd take their favorite thing to do on like snow days and the days off or sometimes on the weekends was to take all the cushions off the couch and make those big forts out of the couch cushions and stuff like that. And it's free and it's silly, but those are still like, that's the kind of stuff that recharges you and fills you back up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's a distinction too between, like I mentioned Disneyland earlier. Like I love going to Disneyland with my kids. I would never be like, that's not a real vacation, don't go there. Mm-hmm. Because I would say that it's a different type of vacation. It's an adventure, right? Yeah. And you still want to have those experiences with your family. Is like, you want to go camping, go camping. If you want to go to a beach, go to a beach. You can still have those experiences, but you need to make sure that you're still resting and recovering frequently, right? Yeah. So like I said, we went to Disneyland, we came back, we spent 8 hours at a spa. And after that, we were like, okay, that was amazing, right? And so we still got the adventure, but we still prioritized our rest and recovery after that because we knew that it was going to be, a go type of adventure. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just, you can do both, but you also can spend not a lot of money. So
mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. I think looking at the quality of the time versus the quantity that you spend probably has so much more impact. Because especially if you're overspending to try and have this quote dream vacation, and then you come home and you're stressed about money because you overtaxed your credit cards, you blew your budget, that's negating the whole rest and relaxation part of it.
Exactly. And finances are like the number one stress of most families, right? Like if you plan like a $10,000 cruise or beach vacation and you don't have that money to spend, that is going to be extremely stressful. Like that is the complete opposite of what we're trying to do with our time off, right? You might go on this vacation, come back and you're in debt. Well, are you really going to perform really well at work and be recovered and be happy and healthy if you're spending money that you don't have? No, right? So it's all about I like to say, ask yourself this question before you go on vacation. How much money can I spend on this vacation without adding extra stress to my life? Right. And if the answer to that question is $0, then take a vacation that costs $0. If you can spend $10,000 and it's not going to add extra stress to your life, you're not going to be thinking about bills the entire time you're gone, then okay, you can spend $10,000, but you really want to make sure that whatever amount of money you're spending, it's a smaller amount than what's going to add stress to your life.
Right. So at the time of the airing of this, your book is either already out or it's going to be coming out soon. So what is the title of it and how can they find it?
So it's called You Need a Better Vacation, and better is in brackets. And yeah, it will be coming out in March. And I am pretty active on Instagram when I have time. And so my handle is @thevacationNerd. And I'm also on TikTok as well. And then I have a newsletter where I send out emails approximately every 10 weeks, kind of reminding people to take a vacation. Okay. And people can sign up for that. I usually send out some research or something on a topic of vacationing in the newsletter, but they can hear about the book through my Instagram.
Awesome. So if you want to connect with Jennica, if you want to work with her, if you want to grab a copy of the book, all the links will be live in the show notes below. So thank you so much, Jennica, for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Yep. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks so much again for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please let me know any questions or comments that you have. Also, if you can please leave an Apple 5-star review so that this episode can be shared with more women. There's 2 quotes that I love. Alone we may be strong, but together we are stronger. As well as when women support each other, incredible things happen. So let's be stronger and incredible together, as well as maybe just have some fun along the way. Thanks so much and talk to you soon. Bye.